Hey everyone, Beth Sager with the Lex Local. Today we get to talk to Lauren Feeney, who's the executive director of the new newspaper in town. Do you call it a newspaper?
We can call it a newspaper.
Okay.
It's a website.
Okay, LexObserver. I call it like my newspaper.
Yeah.
So, my weekly newspaper. So, tell us, what was your inspiration?
So I am a kind of career-long journalist. I moved here about a year before the pandemic and met sort of a group of friends who all worked in journalism or kind of adjacent fields. And particularly at the very beginning of the pandemic, we were just really aware of the fact that there was not really a good source of really hyper local news about what was going on with the schools, with vaccines, and all these really
Right.
very hyper local questions that people had. And, of course, there was a historic newspaper in the town, but it was bought by a major corporation and doesn't really have that same kind of local news. It still exists, but you mostly find stories about maybe a restaurant opening in another town 45 minutes away, but you're not going to get that news about what's happening with your town meeting and school committee and even your local businesses and restaurants and that sort of thing. So we decided to try to start our own news site. There is sort of a movement going on right now towards these more mission-driven nonprofit local news sites, because there's been a real realization that local news is really essential to our democracy. It's the source of news that people trust the most. They feel most connected to it. They can really see with their own eyes what's happening in their town. And in its absence, people don't know where their tax dollars are going. They don't know what's happening in their schools. They don't know what's happening with their local businesses or cultural events. And so it's really essential, but at the same time, it's really, the whole industry is really struggling and has been for some time now. Obviously, news used to be supported by advertising, and that has all moved to digital, Google, social media. And so figuring out how to fund and sustain local news is an ongoing question and problem. And two of the friends that helped found the Lexington Observer, that happens to be their area of expertise. So Nico Mealy, who was really kind of the main force behind this, he has written a book about how to save local news. And one of our other founders and board members, Elizabeth Shapiro, also is a leader in kind of trying to figure out how to save local news. So together we decided to launch this project and we started in 2021. And since I think have really become kind of a trusted and essential part of the community.
I agree. So, how many people are writing for you?
At the moment, we have one paid reporter,
Okay.
Maggie Scales, who is brand new and amazing. She recently graduated from Northeastern's journalism program, and as part of that, did a co-op with the Boston Globe and wrote over 75 articles, I think, for the Globe.
Wow.
So she's really experienced at that quick, straight news. And then we have, I write sometimes, and we have a lot of amazing local volunteers and contributors. We have a volunteer, Christine, who writes our police blotter every week.
Okay.
The police going by made me think of that, which I'm sure people read. It's one of our most popular features. We have a contributor named Helen Epstein, who's a lifelong journalist and author who writes these sort of beautiful profiles and deep dives about people in Lexington. we have a contributor, Jerry Yerkovitz, who's sort of an expert on green energy, and he's been writing a lot of our content about kind of Lexington's transition to green energy. And not to leave anybody out, but we have many different uh, contributors and interns, so we sort of paste it together.
Gotcha. So are you guys on deadline? I mean, do they how does that work? How does this newspaper work?
So we post whenever stories are ready, but because it's a news site, right? So we don't have to have a strict deadline, but we publish a email newsletter every Friday morning, and that's the way a lot of people get our content. And so we do sort of have a cycle that revolves around the Friday morning.
Okay.
So we meet, our reporter and I and kind of whoever else has stuff going on that week. We'll usually talk on Monday about what we want to publish that week, and then everything is sort of due by Thursday midday, and then we put out the newsletter on Friday.
So do you edit everything?
Yeah, I edit everything.
You edit
Yes.
everything? Yeah, the editor.
Yes.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
And where do you get your ideas for stories? I mean,
I'm always surprised that there are just endless stories in a somewhat small town. So we get story ideas a lot of times because people in the community write to me and say, "Did you know that this was going on?"
okay.
That's one big way. We also look at, the meeting schedules for public meetings for the select board and the school committee, the school building committee, human rights committee, all these groups. We're constantly kind of checking if they post the agendas for every meeting online. So we look at the agenda and see if there's anything going on that is really important that we should be at. We try to check in with different community organizations occasionally to see what they have going on. So, we have CAL is really big, and the Indian Americans of Lexington. I sort of try to just have relationships with groups like that so that we know what people have coming up. Monroe Arts Center, we have a just close informal relationship with, just to, and lots of different groups in town, just to sort of always know what's going on.
What do you think is the most controversial thing you wrote about?
Oh, I think, well, two things, I guess. Really, the most controversial thing that we wrote about was certainly the serious talks curriculum in the elementary schools. I think it was a little funny because I think for the most part the town was pretty firmly in favor of having a strong DEI curriculum in the elementary school. But there was a small group of people that I think had some really valid concerns, and our coverage was, a lot of people said that it was really helpful in kind of explaining the issue and driving people out to there was a big public meeting, and I think a lot of people kind of knew to show up because of our coverage. So it was definitely tricky to navigate, but also kind of exciting in a way. And the next thing is the new high school building, which doesn't seem like it ought to be as controversial, but there are people with a wide range of opinions who feel very strongly, and I'm getting a lot of emails and letters about people's perspectives on the new high school building.
How they want you to cover it, or
yeah, just what they think, and yeah.
But do you consider yourself neutral? Like as a
oh, definitely,
resource?
yes,
So,
yeah. I mean, we try to be neutral. I think, no matter how hard you try to be neutral, people on either side will think you're kind of leaning a little too much towards the other side. So that's part of the job, and we navigate it as best we can. And we have very robust letters to the editors section where people are welcome to write in with their opinions, and assuming that they're respectful and they make a new point and the people actually live in Lexington and all those basic sorts of things, we're happy to publish most perspectives.
So how do you, like, what is your growth for this news source? What are you thinking for the future?
Well, right now, I believe that we have about a third of households in Lexington are subscribed to our newsletter, and more people come to our site each month. We would definitely like to, have everybody. So we still are certainly trying to increase both our subscribers and viewers and also members and donors. So as a nonprofit, we are supported by local donations. And, we mentioned that in the newsletter. We do a big push every fall, which is called News Match, where there's an organization that helps support local news that will match whatever local donations we can bring in the month of, I believe it's November and December, both. So that will be coming up soon. So we're obviously looking to increase membership as well as readership.
Thanks. Well, thank you for your time. Is there anything else that you think people should know?
Check us out. If you haven't already, I'm sure hopefully most people watching are subscribers, but we're at LexObserver.org. We're also on Instagram and Facebook, and to a lesser extent, X. And you can sign up for our newsletter on the site. And
I look
drop me an email.
forward to it every Friday.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
it's really great to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks for your time.
Thank you.